Pokémon Scarlet and Violet are finally here, and I'm super excited to jump in. I'm going with Pokémon Violet for my first playthrough, so I'm guessing we'll be seeing a lot of purple in the beginning of the game. Unlike some other YouTubers, I strategically avoided any spoilers before the game's release, so I don't really know what I'm jumping into. So today, I'd like to go through my initial impressions of the game to see if it's worth all the hype. We start off with the character customization screen, and it looks like they've put a lot of work into this area. There are a ton of things you can do here which will make every player feel unique. But now, we get into the inevitable Pokémon tutorial. Hey, did you know this world is filled with strange, mysterious creatures known as Pokémon? Crazy, right? The pacing here is rough. It's like watching your character slog through molasses in the Arctic in a snowstorm. There is a ton of dialogue you have to pour through. Then there's this walk outside as you walk around with your would-be starters. Again, the walk here is akin to medieval torture. Please just let me run. Now we have to learn how to battle, because we obviously didn't know how. In an odd decision, your rival picks your disadvantaged starter counterpart to test your skills. Maybe we're just part of her own Nuzlocke challenge. I still miss the days of Red and Blue, where Blue would talk smack and you would firmly put him in his place. After the battle, we get to talk to Mom again, something she couldn't have done before we left. You're letting your 12-year-old kid loose in a world where every animal they meet along the way could end up mauling them with any number of superhuman moves. But hey, here's a sandwich. Bye, sweetie. Next up is learning to catch Pokémon. Did you know you could do that? You don't even have to run around them or anything. This is actually the part where the game becomes really enjoyable, even though our rival again feels the need to explain how Pokeballs work. Even in this beginning area though, there are a ton of new and diverse Pokemon. You could easily fill out a decent beginning roster, which I thought was really cool. We aren't just stuck with a Caterpie or a Weevil alternative before the first gym. Another thing I thought was cool was the size of the Pokemon in the overworld. Some of them are so small I didn't even see them before I bumped into them. Kinda felt like I was squishing them, to be honest. You can also see the size differences among Pokemon of the same species. It's a fun little detail. But now they have to ruin that fun with another lengthy and obligatory stroll with your version's legendary Pokemon. While I think it's cool you get access to the legendary at the beginning of the game, this walk through the cave is worthy of a supreme smackdown. So slow. And if I try to pass him, he looks at me like I'm trying to eat steak at a chicken and waffles restaurant. Once we're out of the cave, we can finally begin our Pokemon journey. Just kidding. Now we need to go battle this aspiring chef, who apparently knows something about the legendary Pokemon but's not going to tell us. And then we have to run to the top of the lighthouse where our rival can point out where to go next. It's a good thing she points it out because of all the paths that split off from the lighthouse. Oh wait, no, it's just one path. But now we can finally begin our Pokemon journey. Wait, what's that? Pokemon Center? Right. Gotta go learn about Pokemon Centers. The good part is that this gap between the next town and the lighthouse is home to a plethora of Pokemon. I was able to test out a lot of the mechanics and battle a bunch of Pokemon here. You can even wander off down to the ocean for a bit. It's a nice break from the tutorial. But now I reluctantly trudge back to the first town so they can explain more about how Pokemon Centers work. And now, finally, we can start our Pokemon journey. And this time it's for real. A lot of options open up to you like the Pokemon Portal where you can join Terra Raid battles, surprise trades, and battle others. You can also bring someone else into your world and play with them, but I haven't quite tested that feature yet. I still need friends. I'm sure you're tired of hearing me complain by now, but I've said it before and I will say it again. The tutorials do not need to be this way. A simple question at the beginning of the game asking you if you've ever played a Pokemon game before is all you need. If it's yes, then you skip all of the preliminary baggage. If no, then go ahead and teach me about Pokemon Centers. Having a tutorial this long really upsets the pacing of the game. As I was playing through it, I kept thinking there is no way I would try to shiny hunt the starter Pokemon, but I have since learned the starter Pokemon are most likely shiny locked, so it's a moot issue anyway. It seems like with each new iteration in the franchise, the developers feel like they need to play the game for us. I hope that this eases up during my playthrough of the game and they don't hold your hand quite so much. Scarlet and Violet have returned to their old ways in terms of approaching wild Pokemon for both good and bad. You can see Pokemon in the overworld and interact with them, but not like you did in Pokemon Legends Arceus. You will no longer be hucking Pokeballs like an angry ice cube machine, but instead you'll need to battle them, lower their health like you did in the past. Something new that is handy is the ability to send out the first Pokemon in your lineup to battle other Pokemon. Sometimes they win, or sometimes they get too tired and come back. At first I thought it would be a really efficient way to grind levels, but it looks like this method of doing battle is more for acquiring materials that Pokemon drop, rather than gaining experience. The experience you gain in a traditional battle is far greater than sending out your first Pokemon. One thing I wish they had carried over from Legends Arceus was how you could switch between your Pokemon that you sent out into the overworld. In Legends Arceus, all you needed to do to change the lineup was hit the R or L button, but now we have to go back into our menu. They did, however, make it more convenient to move a Pokemon up the list by making a one-button press to move a Pokemon up to the first spot. So kudos to them for that, but after playing for a bit, I actually wondered if they made it this way to keep you from going so fast that the game couldn't keep up. Like if you sent one Pokemon out, and then you switched over to the other and sent it out, I feel like it would bog down the game. Another thing they changed was the trainer battles. Now instead of being forced into a trainer battle when they see you, you have to initiate battles with them by talking to them. I actually missed the forced battles, especially when they would give you some lame excuse like our eyes met and they could see our Pokemon passion burning in our eyes, so we have to battle right now. I mean, it's comical in a way. I can see why they might not want to force trainer battles though. There are a lot of Pokemon in the overworld, and if you're trying to make it back to the Pokemon Center, then you might not want to be doing any trainer battles at the moment. That being said, I think this is another way the developers hold your hand by reducing the challenge. And speaking of challenge, it looks like the forced experience share is here to stay. All in all, I do like this feature as long as the rest of the game is properly balanced for it. In Pokemon BDSP, the gyms Elite Four and Cynthia were not properly balanced, making the gyms too easy, and then you walked into this massive difficulty spike with the Elite Four and Cynthia. I'll report back on the experience share as I make more videos. I'm also wondering if the friendship mechanics will make a comeback, but I don't think any of my Pokemon like me that much yet, so I'll let you know when I find out. I'm also a little sad they made TMs a one-time use this go around instead of making them evergreen. Although after looking at the TM machine building register thing, it looks like there is plenty of opportunity to make more. I'll report back after more gameplay to see if it feels like a balanced approach. I love the bright colors of the game, and the graphics do look better in some areas than in previous games. However, and this is a big however, the frame rates in this game are really rough. There were several times I would be walking around and see NPCs walking around that look like they just came straight out of Minecraft. Then there's this girl. Now she's there. Now she's not. At first I blamed the Nintendo Switch. It's a device meant more for portability than processing power. But then I thought about other games I've played on the Switch like Mario Odyssey, Metroid Dread, or Breath of the Wild. Even though they weren't perfect, I don't remember this being a substantial issue. The only conclusion I can come to is that the software is poorly optimized. Do I know anything about software development or how games work? No, I do not. But I do know Roblox when I see it. Besides obvious issues with the graphics, the background music is pleasant and more pronounced than in Legends Arceus. I could easily see myself listening to the music as I struggle under the weight of working for the man. Make sure to subscribe so I can do this full time. After my ADHD brain took me everywhere but the school, I finally decided to journey there to see what it was all about. I was happy to walk into Mesa Cosa where the school is established. The size can be a bit intimidating, but there are these little indicators in front of the stores you can access. But I thought it was odd that when you try to walk into a store, all you see is a menu. I feel like they didn't add these internal locations because it would cause a loading screen to appear, so they opted to just cut them out. I feel that it takes away from its charm and grandiosity that it aspires to on the outside. I also feel like the shop owners could probably afford a few chairs because look at these prices. $1,600 for a quesadilla? You kidding me? Way to bring out my inner Scrooge. It was cool to see some items in shops that you'd rarely see this early in other Pokemon games like the Charcoal or the Miracle Seed. It does look like food will play a significant role in this game, so I'm sure I'll learn more about that later. I'll let you know. The new Evil Team Star seems like an upgrade from Team Loud of Pokémon Sword and Shield, and by upgrade, I mean not as annoying. But we'll see how it plays out as the game progresses. In your battle with them, this is where you get your first experience with terrestrialization, with that thing that they put into this new game. But it seems like a decent concept. I was a little disappointed to learn that all of my Pokemon's Terra types are the same as their regular types, which seems to make it more of a mega evolution rather than a type-changing battling mechanic. After a small bit of research, it looks like Pokemon with different Terra types are fairly rare and they must be sought out, which in my mind is both good and bad. It makes them feel special. But for Pokemon that you only see once a game, like your starter Pokemon, it's really disappointing. You're going to need to find another way to get one, like breeding, to be able to get what you want, and that's all up to the RNG gods. Going through the school, it was not quite what I was expecting. I was expecting to run around like Harry Potter in Hogwarts, but instead, I just got a bunch of loading screens. I checked each room, but felt underwhelmed at the end of it all. The quote-unquote instructions they gave in each classroom covered things I've known since Pokemon Red and Blue, so I'm not happy about wasting my time in there. But it is what it is. However, after your short duration there, things start to open up in the world like mass outbreaks, the treasure hunt, gym battles, and the search for the Herba Mystica. It looks like they've packed a lot of content in the main game and didn't leave everything other than gym battles for the post-game. Also, your legendary Pokemon will now convert into its bicycle form, giving you an extra boost in speed as you traverse the world. My overall first impressions are both good and bad. The tutorial and other content you need to go through to get going is not amazing to say the least. But battling and catching Pokemon in the overworld has been very fun up to this point. Honestly, this is about what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting the graphics to be good, but these came in way below expectations in terms of frame rate. But where the frame rate fails, the color, buildings, and other artwork are pretty cool to look at. Where they're really trying to make up for it is in the gameplay. But is the gameplay enough to keep players engaged? I'll keep you posted as I go along. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.